Good, everybody. Welcome to Canterbury Rugby's Coaches Corner podcast. Today we're joined by the Golden Boy of North Canterbury and also their North Canterbury head coach, Matt Keane. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you, Riki. Pleasure to be here. I'm not the head coach. I'm just one of the coaches.
One of the coaches. Oh, that's great clarity there. Thanks, mate. Mate, you're a husband, a father. You used to be a builder.
Yep.
Now you work for BCITO as signing off apprentices. And I guess you've got a massive passion for not just North Canterbury rugby, but country rugby in general. Mate, take us on a wee tour of how does a young lad from Amberley get to where he is today?
Yeah, young kid from Amberley that, I don't know, frothed on rugby since I was 3 years old, really. I think he asked mum and dad. I think when I was three, I could name all the All Blacks in that 1987 World Cup team. And yeah, just ever since then, I went to bed with footy balls in my hand. Every chance I had, I was kicking the ball around or had my rugby boots on. And yeah, I don't know, as I said, I frothed on it. And there was a time, I guess, as I was growing up, and I got to 16, 17, I had a couple of knee injuries, and I got told that I should stop playing rugby and I wouldn't play again. And as a 17-year-old, that was pretty devastating for somebody who loved rugby. But I'd got into surfing and that, so I did that for a year and got my knees right, and yeah, I got asked to play again, and that's sort of when I ended up going from Amberley, where I'd played all my JB rugby, to Glenmark, and that was just by chance. I actually thought I was going to play for Oxford at that point, and it was just by chance that I ended up at Glenmark. And yeah, and that sort of having that year off, I think, reinvigorated, or made me realise that I did miss it. And yeah, that first year at Glenmark got me hooked again.
Yeah, and that's probably, and like you did just touch on it earlier, like it probably is quite confronting getting told at 17 years old, and you've probably got these big dreams of becoming an All Black and professional footy player or something like that, like you wanted to take your rugby serious. How'd you, like when you did get told that, like what was going through your head at that point?
I can remember a lot. There was tears, and it was gutting. I'd sort of given up on that idea of becoming an All Black, probably just through high school and teenage years. It was more, I was just playing for fun, as that kid, as that 8-year-old, I was always going to be the first All Black from Amberley, but Brody stole that from me. I guess it was hard. Luckily, I have amazing family and parents, and Dad actually was playing rugby sometimes for the Amberley Div 3s, and I'd played a little bit for the Div 3s when I was like 16. And there was a guy on that team that ran for New Zealand, and he had a mate that was a surgeon, and he actually teed me up to go and see this guy, as opposed to a couple of the other surgeons that I'd seen earlier, and who maybe didn't like sport the same as this other fella. So I went and saw him, and he sort of just put a plan in place to say, well, yeah, you are only 16. Who's to say you can't play rugby again if you do a bit of work? And I'd never really been in the gym or anything like that. So I went and saw this guy, and he put me onto a physio that worked out of Northwood, actually, out of West City Fitness is there now. And just when that had sort of first opened up, and yeah, I did some work, and yeah, my knee came right, and I got back playing, and I didn't have any trouble with my knees for years. Every other part of me started breaking down before my knees did. So, it was real hard. But maybe looking back, it was a good thing, because I had a year off that, and luckily enough, I got back into it, and maybe that year off is what I needed to just find the love of it again.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess like if, like you're saying, find the love, I guess from 3 years old to 16, 17, rugby's become all consuming of you. Like it's probably nice to have a get out into the ocean, have a wee surf around and real chill vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, cool. And so obviously playing wise, you've done some epic stuff. You've represented North Canterbury, you represented Canterbury country, you've managed to put a hit on Sonny Bill Williams. What was it? What was the turning point when you decided to pick up the whistle and give coaching a call?
I guess I loved playing rugby for Glenmark, like senior rugby, and everybody knows that. Like, I loved it, and I guess was it that I loved playing rugby, or was it that I just loved being part of the team? And I guess my body, I got to 30, however old I was then, 34, and I'd been 4 serious like KOs. The last one I woke up in the ambulance. I had heaps and heaps of injuries that, and operations, and I guess I just got old and tired, but I still wanted to be part of the team, and I guess that's probably was the biggest driver. And I like getting out and talking to people and trying to help, and yeah, I didn't want to stop being part of the team at that point. And there was a few. The year I said I was stopping, there was a few, and I said, I'll coach the Glenmark team next year. And there was a few people who said, nah, you can't coach the team you've just played for. And I was like, why not? Or you're too close to them all. And for me, that was what I wanted. I wanted them to, because they all knew how much I loved it. And so for me, that was the key to get involved in, so that then, because they knew how much I frothed on it and how much I enjoyed being part of it, and I could make that rub off on any of the new ones or the ones that were starting to get a little bit older and thinking, maybe I need to retire. If I was there and they knew how I felt about the team, that was a step in the right direction. It didn't matter that I played with them all. So, it was that first year when after retiring, I was lucky that the head coach then rang me and said, if I do it, will you help me? And I said, well, yeah, if they're going to let me. And because he was going to be the head coach and I was just helping, they said, yeah. And it was, then into it straight away.
Yeah. And how did how did the lads receive you when they all received the news, when they found out that Matt Keane wasn't actually fully hanging up his boots, he was still going to be in and around the mixer?
I don't know, really. I didn't ever ask them. It just sort of carried on like it was when I was playing, probably. That the first year when I was helping out, me and Tussock's an amazing guy. We saw the game way different, which in the end I think was a real good thing. And there was lots of times where we were at training and doing stuff together and coaching, and I was like, I'm going to do things way different when I get my time. But once Tussock had left, I found myself doing a lot of the things that Tussock had spoken about, and I actually didn't do things. Well, I might have done them a little bit different, but the principles of the things that he had taught me over the years, I actually carried on with a lot. I just did them slightly different. So, yeah, it was, I don't know, for me, it felt seamless. It was just like nothing had really changed. I hope the lads felt like that.
Yeah.
And what was an environment where everyone feels comfortable, man.
Yeah. And you were talking about like the way that Tussock, and that's obviously his nickname. What's his?
Yeah, Mike Luffman. So Timmy Luffman, who's coaching the Glenmark team at the moment, it's his dad, and he's coached Glenmark for. Well, he was coaching them before I even started, I think, in sort of like that 2001 era, and then he had a few years off, and he came back and coached in 9 and 10, 8, 9 and 10 sort of, and then he came back again 2017 when I came on board and helped him. He's been around for a while, just a real good man.
And so what was it how was he seeing the game different, or how were you guys seeing the game different, or wanting to do, like, what type of innovations were you trying to bring in?
I get Tussock being like older, and he obviously shape wasn't something. It was obviously people have been playing it for a long time, but Tussock's a real play what you see, and that sort of thing. And I wanted to drill a bit deeper into the way we would attack and how we were going to attack and things like that. But one thing Tussock was real big on was your defence, or as I call it, attack without the ball, and we trained that a lot, and that was probably one of the biggest things that I took away is we spend a lot of time on our attack without the ball, and I reckon that comes from Tussock, because he used to always speak about, making sure if you've got that right, your attack with the ball will follow. So we probably coached it and trained it different ways, but that whole philosophy around, I guess, like the Crusaders, isn't it? Their championships are won on the back of defence. So It's nothing new or different. It was just that Tussock, we put a lot of work in it with Tussock, and I think we did a lot of it, whether the boys realise it or not. We did a lot of it with me as well. So
I'm kind of hearing that, like, Tussock was probably a big part of your coaching journey and how into kind of the coach you are today. What was it that he had that you're just like, this guy's got something here that I want to lean into?
He was really, really, really good for me. Kind of, I guess, as, what would you say, rather than a head coach, as like a personal coach, an assistant coach. When he wasn't even coaching our team, sort of in 2007, that I'd often talk to him after the game about how I was playing, and his points around giving the ball earlier and backing up and staying in the game. I was always quite confrontational, and I just wanted to carry, and I'd die with the ball a wee bit. And for me, he improved my game massively just by the little conversations we were having and pointing out things I was doing. And that was something that I guess that's a different skill to, I guess, if you talk about head coaches, they put everything together, and then there's assistant coaches or head coaches do it too as well. But he was really good on a personal level at developing your game personally, and picking up little things that would improve the way you're playing. And I liked that about him, and the way he could be honest with you and tell you, maybe you should be doing this or try this, and
And how would Tussock frame those conversations up, and how different are those conversations now that you have with your players, or are they pretty similar?
He never would beat around the bush. It was just you knew where it was coming from, a genuine place. Like you knew that Tussock loved Glenmark and Cheviot, and he did, because he was always a Glenmark coach, and he was sort of Glenmark, but he also lived pretty much in Cheviot, and so he was, real passionate about both clubs. And I think it was more the fact you just knew it was coming from a good place. It wasn't trying to run you down, or it was just genuinely trying to get the best out of you. I think that that was over 10 years ago now, when we were having lots of those conversations. I think now it's a lot different. The younger generation don't take feedback quite the same way, probably. So you treat a little bit lighter sometimes, but I still like to. That's really good. I'm one for saying what I think, and hopefully that people know that it's coming from a good place, and that it doesn't offend them too much. And I think generally, if it is coming from the right place, then no matter the way you say it, or no matter what you say, shouldn't be taken as offence. Like it's not telling you these are the things you do poorly or bad. It's actually just trying to make you better. And I don't know, I guess everybody that not everybody, because you can't please everybody, and there are people that you are going to let down. But I would like to think that Perfect. 90% of the players that I've played with and coached know how much I care about them as players and as teammates. So it's always from a good place, not a negative place. So yeah, that's how I go about it. And you'll just pick your times. I just pick your battles. There'll be ones you can win and lose. And if it's not going to make a difference to a player, I wouldn't say it. But if I thought it would, I'd definitely let them know.
Yeah.
Oh, no, silly, mate. It's always good for a chat.
Change tacks a wee bit, or tack a wee bit here.
All good, Crofty.
I've only watched one North Canterbury game this year, and that was up against.
No surprises there, Rick. No?
And there was up against Southbridge actually, out at Southbridge, Glenmark versus, and then it was just purely to go catch up. To see an old friend of mine that I've had a little bit to do with, old Nick Hyde, or young Nick Hyde. I won't call him old.
Yeah.
So
he's old now. He's getting old.
Yeah, he is getting very long in the tooth. But it must be pretty cool seeing some young talent coming out, or there is some young talent out and about in those regions now. Like we had a pre-season when I was with Sydenham up against Ashley, and there was some really good young players coming through that I've seen in town. They're in Colts and now they're out playing senior rugby. The likes of the Nick Hyde, who's a Cheviot boy coming back to his roots. It must be pretty a proud moment for you as a coach to see this talent out there.
Yeah, I guess I've always said, like, the big difference between town rugby, like the Metro comp and the country comp, is in town, in that Div 1 grade, they're all really talented guys. There's not many guys there just filling spots because they want to go out and play footy with their mates on a Saturday and have a beer in the club rooms afterwards. Out in the country comp, the talented guys and the good guys, they are just as good as the most of those guys floating around in the Metro comp. We just have a few more lads that are the lads, and they are there because they enjoy playing footy and they enjoy hanging out with their mates, and they want to have a beer on a Thursday after training, and they want to hang out with everybody on a Saturday. So there's a few more holes, or not holes, but there's some more opportunities to find weaknesses and stuff as opposed to there probably is in town. But the fact that there is starting to be players coming back from the town comp to play for North Canterbury or Ellesmere, it is. It's pretty cool. The Nick Hyde, Andrew Hull, Jesse Houston, Josh Duckworth, all guys that have played in the town comp and are now back out helping out, this comp. And it only takes a few of them to start really building the level of rugby out here. And it is. It's exciting. I think we're lucky. There's some really good people involved in the North Canterbury and country setup at the moment. Ellesmere setup, good coaches. Merv's come back from Lincoln Uni and helping out the Ducks. There's, Dion Jones is doing wicked things with the Saracen boys, especially last year, and then getting them into the final this year. And Timmy and Charlie and that learning lots at Glenmark. I think it is. It's exciting, and if we can get a few of the things over the line that we're planning this year, hopefully we'll see a few more start to come out, and then that gap will continue to shrink, and then we really might start seeing some of those kids that are leaving at Colts age sticking around, and then we'll see what happens, eh?
Yeah. I think you'll be hammering the drum for a town and country game. I could imagine.
Yeah. Oh, mate, there's been a lot of chat around that, and look, that was when you play for the country team. That's the one game you want to play, town country. I don't think I've ever won one, but the last time it was played, country did win that, didn't they?
I was at that stage, so that's.
And again, that would be, I think, a lot of lads would be excited to play in that. probably more excitement our way than there is in town for it, because we've probably been the underdog with the little brother, and it's always good to have a go against the big brother. But yeah, like if we can fit that in the calendar, yeah, I'm sure that would be something that would go off like a rocket.
Yeah. Hey, you said at the top of this potty that you're not the head coach, that you're just one of the coaches. So talk us through the coaching and management group. Who are they? Yeah. What do they bring? What do you bring to the group? Like,
I'm not a lot. Not a lot. I'm just a battler. I'm just a battler that loves it. So it was 2020. I got run by John Stanley, he was the president of North Canterbury. He said, Matt, do you want to coach the North Canterbury team this year? And I was like, not really. I didn't think that a club coach should, because I was coaching Glenmark, and I didn't think a club coach should be coaching the rep team. That was just my personal opinion. And so I said, nah. And then I thought about it, and I remember being at work, and I was like, don't be a sook. Like, you can do this, have a go. And so I rang them back and I said, yeah, I will do it. And they had Kevin O'Neill jacked up to help out then. And I said, if Kevin's definitely in, and they said, oh, he was in if you were in. I said, yeah, but I don't want to have anything to do with selecting the team. So they were going to put together a group of people that would select the team, and then we'd just coach it, which sat a lot better with me, just in terms of being a club coach. I had my eyes on the Glenmark boys every week and knew what they were about, and it would be good to just have an independent group. But that year rep rugby was canned and it didn't happen. So then in 2021 they rang back and said, did we want to do it? Do I want to do it? And I was like, yep. I wasn't coaching Glenmark that year, so yeah, into it. Kev was real busy. I sort of sent him a couple of messages, but didn't hear back from him, and sort of knew that he was real busy. And when I said yes, one of the things I said to John was, I'll do it if I can get James Lowe on board. And Lowe was a big part of the reason, I believe, why Ashley went so well in 2014 and 15. And I guess Lowe, for me, looking from the outside in, was a guy a lot like me that thrived on making sure that the team was really enjoying what they were doing, and I knew that he would be able to help create that environment that I wanted to be a part of. And so I rang Lowe. I'd already mentioned it to Lowe, and he said, yeah, sweet. So yeah, we sat down at the Good Home one day, and we'd asked a good mate of ours, Barrel, to be a manager, and he was on board. And that day at the Good Home, we decided two things: that we want to make the North Canterbury team something that North Canterbury players were really excited and proud to be a part of, and that the rest of the North Canterbury players and public were excited about. Like, if they missed out, they weren't going to be, oh yeah, the stupid North Canterbury team. Just a team that everybody would be proud of and want to be a part of. And then the other thing we decided that day is we need Simon Gunn on board. And so we rang Gunny and got him on board. And then we then decided on a couple of managers. Batman, we call him, Paul the Power Burgess and Sam Sidey, and they jumped on board as well. And and that was our little group that we put together a plan with. Obviously, in terms of what everybody brings, everybody has different skills and attributes, I guess. If we looked at that management group, Barrels was another massive reason that Ashley team went really well in 2014 and 15. He was their captain. He's now a business owner, runs a really good business. So he's organised and a guy that players respect. So it was a no-brainer. Batman is one of the most unique humans that anyone will ever meet, and he just brings he's always positive. I've hardly ever seen him without a smile on his face. And he's at Glenmark, he was the manager as well, and his job was like the I guess the Saturday morning running of the team, getting the sheds set up, making sure that we had all the things we needed for the day. And we brought him in to make sure that would carry on, and the fact that he was Batman. He had these unique. You don't even know how to explain Batman, to be fair, which was what made him awesome. And Sam Sidey, the other manager, Sam was also managing at Glenmark with Batman, and he's a real estate agent that is highly organised, very efficient at getting things done. A lot of the admin outside of the game day stuff, Sam looks after, tidies up. And again, just a really good bloke that, you don't hear many people say bad thing about him, apart from that he's a real estate agent probably. And that was our management crew, and the biggest thing about that was they're all guys that people get along with and like. And then Gunny speaks for himself. I think Gunny's the best community coach in the game, head and shoulders above everybody else. And obviously that's shown by getting involved with the junior nights last year, and then being asked to be involved with the 19s and stuff this year. He's going places, and I said last year when we got the boys together, Gunny will, well, in my opinion, he's the next Jace Ryan or Mike Cron, and he coaches so many teams. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how his missus doesn't kill him, but he puts himself out there, and he just loves scrums and lineouts and mauls, and that's his big attribute. And he's a real, like, he's a bit like me. Like, he'd never lie down. He'd never take a backward step. He would fight till the very end. You have to kill him before he'd stop getting up. And I think you need that. It's kind of I find that it's that attitude is dying out a wee bit. His standards are very high, and we wanted that. And Lowy, as I said earlier, amazing with culture and environment, and making sure the boys are in a good place. And from me and him, I guess we're learning our coaching roles and our philosophies a wee bit, I guess. But we're there to bring a team together, and I think if we can create an environment that the boys really enjoy, that's the biggest step when it comes to bringing guys from 8 different clubs together that hate each other week in, week out. Bringing a group together that love each other thrive together is the massive driver for us.
Yeah, and I guess it's you've made it way bigger than just a rep team. This is what I'm hearing, and hopefully the people that are listening in are hearing the same thing. It's about, you talk about, you want North Canterbury Rugby to be a team or the North Canterbury Rugby rep team to be a team that people can be proud to be a part of, but also be proud to support and get behind and stuff like that. And like you said, I've met Lowy a couple of times, and he seems super onto it in a sense around, like you mentioned, around that culture stuff, but also around his curiosity to wanting to learn and grow for the players that he's working with. So that's awesome. I know that's the same as you. I've seen you out at Rugby Park and the position specific stuff. I think you're doing a little bit of RDO work for Glenmark Cheviot at that time, and you're just having a little look at what they're doing and trying to pull what can I take back to clubland and stuff like that. So that's really awesome that you found a group of guys like that. And you're right about Gunny, he is outstanding. I've seen the guy operate firsthand, and the way that he can go from coaching at under 15 boys or girls, and then he can slide into first 15 world, and then he can slide into senior men's. Like it's just, he's just very seamless in what he does, and yeah, it's cool. It is cool to see him kind of get those opportunities that he's starting to get now off the back of the hard work that he's been putting into. And yeah, I don't know how his partner is letting him away with it. But yeah, I think the big thing is that making, as soon as you make something bigger than just what happens between the white lines, like it becomes way more personal to the players that are involved, and to obviously your management group as well. So that's awesome. That's awesome stuff. So when I say North Canterbury Rugby, what's just popped into your head in that moment?
Winning Southbridge Shield. I was North Canterbury. I remember when I very first made the North Canterbury under-10s. That was massive. I was so excited. I remember lying in bed leading up. We had trials back then. I remember lying in bed the night before the North Canterbury under-10 trial, just so excited to be having a chance to try and make the North Canterbury under-10s. And that trial, it was at Amberley, at the Domain, and I can still remember it. And when I played for Amberley as a kid, I just got my hands on the ball, and whenever I could, I was one of those kids that everyone would say he hogs the ball, just because I loved having it. And I got to the trial, and I was playing first five, and all I did was pass the ball. I stopped playing, and I remember Dad said to me, "You're going to have to, if you want to make this rep team, you're going to have to do something, and you have to do something awesome." And I remember going, "Oh shit, right," and tackling the kid down the sideline. "Are you still there? I've lost you." "Oh no, yeah." And it was the biggest kid on the field, and I managed to bail him over the try line and save a try, and then I got my hands on the ball and had a run, and yeah, that's, I guess, when I think of North Canterbury, I think back to those days playing in the under-10s and the under-11s, and with Merv and Dinger and those boys, and I also think about a night as a fundraiser Glenmark held at the casino, and they had Graham Higginson set up and spoke, and like Higgy was an All Black, played, I don't know, 20 or 30 games for the All Blacks, I think, and he spoke that night about being away on tour with the All Blacks, and all he wanted to do was get back in time to play the Southbridge Shield game for North Canterbury. And I just sat there that night. I'd had a few beers, everybody had, and I just sat there and went, man, like, that's what I want a North Canterbury team to feel like. Like, why don't we feel that way anymore? And the fact that he was away with the All Blacks, playing with the All Blacks, the greatest rugby team in the world, and all he could think about was getting back to play the Southbridge Shield. And if we could create that, then how can you not be successful? So, that's one thing that really pops into my head.
Yeah, I know.
Like a couple of things, I suppose.
Yeah, and so what does the future look like for North Canterbury under the helm of you and your amazing coaching group?
What does it? So we're very lucky that Craig Mullen is on board as like the North Canterbury rugby manager, and I think he's doing a fantastic job. The old principal, we call him the principal, and he gets really pissed off because he's not a principal anymore, he tells me. But he still speaks to a lot of people like he's a principal. Yeah. I think he's doing an outstanding job. We had two teams in the combined final for the first time ever, which is awesome. Glenmark obviously had a lot of luck. They had to have a few results go their way to get in. So having two teams in that final was awesome, but at the same time, the next best were down playing for 12th and 13th, I think. So that's an area that we want to make sure we grow. It's awesome having 2 teams in the final, but when everybody else was maybe a bit off the pace, or not quite where we wanted to be, that's something we just don't want to get blinded by the fact that we had 2 teams in the final. In terms of the rep program, mate, we've got 5 games before we even head to Japan, which is outstanding. We get to play South Canterbury, who are challenging for the Shield tomorrow night, and they didn't lose a Heartland game, last year. So that'll be a massive challenge as our first game the week after the club final. But I think we've got a really meaningful campaign capped off by our test match against Ellesmere for that Southwood Shield. That is our test match. That's the one thing that I'm excited about, and Lowy's excited about, and all the boys should be really excited about. Obviously, we've got this trip to spend a week or 10 days with the Wild Knights planned after that, but I don't want to get on that plane without our Southwood Shield. So does
it go on tour with you? Do you take it over to Dingo?
100%. If we can sneak it on the plane, it's getting on the plane. I don't know if it will. It's made of wood, isn't it? They might frown upon that at customs. They might take it off us. But we'll see. We might make it a little. I don't know yet. But if we can, it'll go. But yeah, so I think, and the Stags are back up and running, which obviously you would have heard of. It hasn't been up and running for a couple of years just because of COVID and all that. But they've got a real meaningful campaign as well, playing alongside the senior team with really good games lined up beside us each week. We've got plans around trying to get North Canterbury Rugby back to the showgrounds in Rangiora and making that a base. But that's all up in the air. These are just ideas and plans and things that hopefully we see again all around, making sure that people get excited about and getting in behind the North Canterbury team.
Yeah. I know that's
yes,
awesome.
I think it's in a good place, but we just need to make sure we keep growing, moving forward, making sure that we're challenging Town, challenging Ellesmere, keeping up. And not just keeping up anymore. We're sick of sitting back and waiting to see what happens. We're going to move forward and see what happens.
I think that's a really cool way to look at it. Like, I think rugby at times can be quick to judge and slow to react, and it's quite cool to hear someone like yourself and your group talk about, look, we can sit back and just let what normally happens happen.
Take our players.
Yeah.
I'll say it. It's been happening for years, and we sit there and whinge about it. Yeah. And we all say it. But so now we're like, well, righto, let's do something about it. And there's no point. Lowy's a massive driver of that, and probably far more so than me. That we can do this, and so stop sitting around waiting for somebody to help. Just make it happen. Yeah. And if we can do that, then it gives the kids in the high school, Rangiora High School First 15, something to get excited about. It gives all the kids that have played for North Canterbury clubs and then gone to school in town something to maybe think about coming back and playing for. So hopefully if we can get that off the ground and make our North Canterbury team again something that people are excited about, we'll nail it.
Yeah, I know that.
Sorry, that's Paul Stevenson, Oxford stalwart, the loudest man in the world. Played 300 games for Oxford, thinks he's God's gift to the world. He kind of is, actually, to be fair.
Is he the Michael Sheet of Oxford, is he?
Yeah, mate, he's an ex-cop. He was filthy on the field, but he's a good man.
How good. Hey, before we let you go, we've just got some quick fire questions. So you're inviting 3 people to dinner, bro. You have to cook for me. First of all, what are you cooking, and who are the 3 people that come along?
Barbecue, charcoal barbecue. Probably hot and fast as opposed to low and slow.
Yeah.
It'll be and in a really nice potato salad. At least does a very good potato salad. She might have learned it off you back in the chefing days, maybe.
Oh, she was. I don't think she spent any time in the kitchen.
No.
Back in those.
So yeah, there'll be good hot and fast barbie and a real good potato salad. Tyson Fury.
Oh yeah, the Gypsy King.
Yeah, the Gypsy King would definitely be one. It used to always be Roger Federer or Rafa. I can't decide which one of them two.
Yeah.
And then the third, I don't know, possibly Mertz.
Mertz.
Yeah. He was always my favourite rugby player as a kid growing up, and he's a funny man, and he loves a lager. So
yeah. Well, that was going to be the follow-up question. Is it to just share conversation with him, or is it to see who can go 1-for-1 with each other?
You know me, Rick. You know that answer, don't you?
Yeah, I think I do.
We're going 1-for-1 as long as we can, but I fall asleep really easy and early, so it wouldn't be too late, but we would have had a few.
Yeah. No, how good. Next question: favorite coach you've had playing and why?
Favorite coach I've had playing and why? Oh, I talked about Tussock, obviously, but Stu Lowe was he's amazing at pulling a team together, and when Stu Lowe talks, people listen. So he was, in 2011, we won the North Canterbury comp, and we hadn't been going very well, but our coach had to head off overseas, and Stu came on board, and in my honest opinion, if he didn't come on board, we wouldn't have won that title that year. And he's just a great Glenmark lad and an awesome coach. Jimmy Sinclair is also someone, he's never coached me, but I spent a lot of time picking his brain and asking him questions. And he's a really smart man.
Oh, he is a great human. His smile can light up.
I've never ever heard anyone say anything but about Jimmy. So.
Yeah.
And Fletcher's also, I guess, Fletcher's one that Fletch came a long way, I reckon. His first year coaching the North Canterbury team, and I think he would be the first to admit that was probably quite disappointing. But he came back the next year, and it was just after, I think that next year he'd been the manager of the ITM Cup team, and he came back, and he's a school teacher, and he'd just been a sponge and taken everything in that he learned over that time, and he went from strength to strength from then on, and I find I like to his details through the roof, and probably too detailed for me, but it's great to think that way a wee bit as well. So those three are pretty massive.
Fletcher's a good man. I think I might know this one, but one of your favourite rugby memories, either coaching or playing?
My favourite rugby memory all up is probably, when we won the comp in 2016, my last year playing, and both my brothers were in the team, so I only played like 5 minutes in the final. I had a terrible year, heaps of injuries. I smashed my cheekbone into pieces, and then next week back, I tore all the ligaments in my ankle. So it wasn't a great season for me. But I came off the bench with my ankle strapped up to play 5 minutes at the end of that game in the final with my brothers, and to win that game with those two was awesome, and that was like the start of my coaching, which I've learned. I thought I loved playing, but I realised I love coaching even more. So that would be my favourite, most memorable rugby memory. Obviously, it was cool marking Funny Bill back in 2010 in that town country game. Got an intercept off him, so that was quite cool. But and I guess when I stopped coaching the Glenmark team at the end of 2020, the fact that we hadn't lost the game in 3 years, and we'd built ourselves up from a team that probably we didn't performed very well in 2017 to a team that had been very lucky and successful over the 3 years was really, I'd learnt heaps. I hope the players had learnt a bit. Everything. I love all of it.
I knew that Sonny Bill one was going to get chucked in there.
Yeah, wow. It's not
You've
very
been
often.
running out on that for years, mate.
Man, I can still remember walking out onto Lancaster Park or whatever it was called at that point and looking for him, warming up. And when I finally saw him, I was like, oh, shit. It's going to be a long day. He was like doing squat jumps higher than my head. And I was just like, far out. There's a photo. I think his arms are bigger than my legs in the photo.
Yeah.
That was fun.
I've seen that one. What's one bit of advice you'd give a young Matt starting out on his coaching journey?
One bit of advice. Matt, my first year after Tussock had left, when I was, I guess, in charge and Tussock had gone and me and Cass had taken over, we lost 3 games in a row. And I'd never, ever been a part of a Glenmark team, in the 15, 16 years I've been there, I'd lost 3 games in a row. It just hadn't happened. And I was like, holy shit, I can't do this. I've got to ring Tussock and get him back. But I don't know, the advice is just to never stop trying. If you're trying your best and giving your very best, it'll work out. It's when you stop trying and stop caring and stop giving your best that it doesn't work out. So I just keep reminding myself to keep trying, keep listening, taking on board the things that you think are relevant to you, and yeah, just make sure you're enjoying it and keeping on. And I just try and remind myself that there's times where you think to yourself that maybe family is, maybe you need to spend more time with your family, or maybe you need to not think about code too much. So make sure you do that as well. But yeah, just never stop trying at whatever you've got your mind on at that point.
Yeah, no, that's
my effort based. I'm real effort based.
Yeah, no, that's cool, and that effort's paying off for you, brother. What's your go-to drill? You got North Canterbury's starting training tomorrow. What are you warming them up with? What's go-to?
Well, it will be like a delivery time catch pass drill where we're racing each other. You have 2 halfbacks, a cone sort of in the middle, and then 2 lines of 3, I suppose, or 2. Blow the whistle. The guys in the middle get up, race to their sort of like standing there, first receiver, receive the ball, race the ball through the hands. We pass the ball so many times in the game. We've got to be good at it, and we've got to be good at doing it as fast as we can, and just by tuning it into a bit of a race, that creates just enough pressure that it's not just like standing there passing through the hands. That would be my big one. And then, yeah, just making sure we got clarity on our attack without the ball.
Oh man, that's awesome drill. Make sure that the principal gets a video of that one and chuck it up on your North Canterbury.
That's a good one. Actually, we did it with I went out and helped the Darfield boys, and they enjoyed it. It's just an easy, good one, and you got to be good at your catch pass. I always tell the lads, how many times do you see photos of every photo you see of a Crusader training or All Black training? They are practicing their catch pass, and if they're good enough to do it, you guys aren't too good to do it, and spend a lot of time trying to do that. And I think it's made a difference over the last few years with the Glenmark boys.
And last question, bro, and I'll get back to the office.
What does being a coach mean to me?
Yeah.
For me, I said that to some of the boys the other day, I love playing for Glenmark. I got the bug of winning. Like, I love that. I'd never won anything. At Amberley, we never won anything. And I do love winning. But for me, coaching, it's not the winning. It's the feeling I know you get when you win. And I want that for the team. because it is like you can't beat around the bush. You should want to win, and winning feels good. So for me, being able to put together things that give a team the best chance of feeling that feeling is why I coach. And walking into the sheds after a game and seeing the smile or the relief or just the shatteredness of lads, knowing that they've been out there and done their job and done their work, that's what makes me happy. And I feel like I've done my little bit on helping them get that feeling. Because I guess if you can create an environment where guys are willing to work harder than the opposition, they will win 9 times out of 10 at Clubland. And that's just my opinion. And to do that, they need to be having fun and enjoying what they do.
Yeah, bro, that is a beautiful answer and a great way to finish this potty off. Mate, hey, all the best for the upcoming rep rounds. All the best for the trip over Japan. Say hello to Elise and the kids for me. And I guess, carry on doing amazing things, being an awesome coach and an awesome advocate for everything country footy, bro, because if it isn't for guys like yourself, Budgie and Nace and the Mervs and the Reece Allens of the worlds and that type of stuff, country footy could definitely be swallowed up by us city folks. So keep fighting the good fight, brother. We're all in it to make sure that rugby stays in a wicked place. Get back to the office chat behind you.
Yeah, hopefully it hasn't overtaken too much, or hopefully you can still hear what we've been talking about. But yeah, thank you. I'm just a battler that loves mode and being around the team and the lads. So anyone can do it. All the information you need to do it is out there. I watch a shit ton of YouTube and just talk to people, and it's a lot of fun. So jump in.
Well, you're battling in the right direction, bro. So
Thanks,
talk soon.
Enjoy, my man. Yeah, 100%.